Yes, I think the time has come to make a certain change. It's actually a upgrade. It's like going from a silent movie to a movie. Because the assumption is that one thing happens and then another thing follows from that, and that the sequence, the choice of sequence of these different things is treated as being the course of history. Now, if you take the case of what happened to Hillary Clinton just recently, where she was out there and refusing to mention the word glass-steagall, but one of our young men said, "What about glass-steagall?" and reiterated it, and the whole thing went wild. Hillary sat there saying nothing. But what happened is suddenly he didn't have to say anything at that point. He said it. But suddenly you have a swarm of people from the press and so forth coming around this thing, and they're all wanting to know about this event. And so what happened was that Hillary Clinton went to the close, or she intended to be the close of her argument. But she never got a chance to do that. It didn't close. She was closed because she no longer is likely to be elected as president. Her presidency was wiped out in 1 minute. 1 minute. When the question of Glass-Steagall was suppressed, the press around there went wild with a sort of jubilation kind of wildness. And so on that case, if you try to take the sequence of events and take her speech there in Manhattan on that occasion, history changed, which means her plan, and the plan of most other people in politics was suddenly changed. It's a complete change. And the problem is that we try to say one thing after the other. But that is not the way society functions. It functions on the basis of interruptions or abominations or whatever they put in there. So the point is that we talk about how things work. And it's like the idiocy of mathematics. When mathematics is used as falsely as science, it's crap. That's not real. And thus, the problem is that most of mankind and most of the population of the planet, especially notably in the transatlantic region, that the basis of measurement of what the future will bring on any basis is up for grabs. A mere incident like that. What about Glass-Steagall? Repeated a second time. That changed the whole history of the campaign features for the next coming presidency. It changed. And what happens is, what I always do, I don't like to take things in the order they're dictated. They're wrong. Because what happens if you are enslaved to saying, we made this decision, now next we're going to do this, and then next we're going to do this. That's idiocy. That's absolute incompetence when it comes to anything that's serious, particularly social processes. And therefore, the way we do here is we often try to follow the leader kind of thing. We do this, and then we do this, and then we do this, and then we do this, and you don't do anything else until after you've done that. And then that doesn't work. And it's not working at all, not only in the case of Hillary Clinton, it's going with other things as well at the same time. The history. If we get a thermonuclear war between Russia and the United States, that won't happen in a neat sequel of events. And nothing that is in the policy of government today in terms of economic policy or almost anything is always subject to abrupt interruptions. Interruptions which may change the entire direction of the action which had been going on before. And therefore we've got to understand these matters, because how then do you control the process of society if interruptions made by mankind, for example, which is the likely case, or some accident, storm, a tornado, something like that, that is an interruptive. But voluntary human interruptions are the essential characteristic, they're the required characteristic of a sane society. And this, that's where Einstein was the only scientist of the 20th century who understood what science is. We had a number of people who were scientists who made great achievements in science. But when you try to say, what is the flow of the process of scientific advances, that does not apply, that does not submit itself to what people assume are the measures of practical standing. So today, we, or in any other situation that we're in, we have to apply that to ourselves and say that, wait a minute, yesterday we said this was going to happen, or this should happen. And then somebody comes up and wins the argument by saying, no, that's not right. It's not going to happen that way. And therefore, when people get in the idea that there's a certain order, which is a predetermined order that mankind must follow in proper order, well, this is scheduled to occur next week, so don't bring it up this week. And how Hillary got lost her whatever is an example of this. Here she is, he's marched in, everybody's assumed that she's going to march in and envelop the whole question and on this audience in Manhattan, on this, and it didn't happen at all. And it will never happen. So what was supposed to be the next thing on the agenda, who's going to rebut her? Oh, there was nobody going to rebut her. She's wiped out already. She doesn't exist anymore as a candidate. It's lost. So we have to think about ourselves, and what we do at our discussions here, or meetings such as this. We have to keep our mind open to the fact that lurking right around us is evidence which we may have overlooked. And if we discover that evidence, which we have overlooked, if we are going to survive, we're going to change our opinion immediately. You're going to drop the idea we had going, and you're going to introduce an idea which fits the reality requirement instead. And of course, what I did in terms of, just for an example of that, I did that Saturday, was in terms of all the discussions, the leading discussions we had, is to try to get people to see things in those terms. And the fact that Hillary Clinton's goofball operation is an excellent example of how neat planning and schedules and so forth really are never secure. They're always up to question, either by making mistakes or succeeding in making discoveries.